Welcome to Passioneer-magazine, the podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer-magazine, the podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration.
I'm really excited about sharing your success journey with our listeners today. So welcome to the show.
Hello, Angela. Thank you so much for having me here. I am Paula Echeverri, and as you know, we follow each other in social media, but I actually do a lot of things. I do also write books like you, and I am a book writer, and I also specialize in neuroscience and something that I have, my fitness program that is called Neurofitness, which actually speaks, I train people about how to use their brain better for mindset, for fitness, for anything in life. So everything is about brain health now, and neuroscience has so many things that they're so exciting that people need to know. So my program is actually called, like I said, NeuroFit. So we do that, and I also have, I also have my new venture, which is called Synapse Fitness, which actually addresses women and body and mind fitness. So that's my new venture.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, What did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
When I was thinking about growing up, I always saw myself being a very independent woman, because when I was a kid, actually, I was not the typical kid. I was a very independent kid. I always liked being alone for some reason. I have friends and I enjoy being with friends too, of course, like a regular child. But I always saw myself doing something on my own. And I didn't feel like working for other people was my goal when I was a kid. And I had that very clear growing up.
I have to agree with you there. I think there are some of us that simply know, even as a child, we may not know the word for it, but we know that we're going to be entrepreneurial in our future pursuits. We know that as being a solopreneur, that we love people, but we also appreciate and work well on our own. We tend to be self-motivated types of personalities. And even though we love helping people and getting out there and working with others, don't get me wrong, we do enjoy working with others. We're just as okay working by ourselves. So I have to agree with you there on that. Now, what made you decide to do all that you are doing now? Was there a moment in your life, if you can recall, where you said, hey, I'm going to shift gears here. I'm going to pivot and start doing that? Many folks have a moment that nudges them, or a life-changing moment that gives them an aha and really catapults them into the field in which they are today. Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, actually, I don't want to make it too long, but I had a big aha moment, like you said. I was actually a workaholic, in the Bay Area in California, working with tech companies, and I had a really hectic life. Stress, was normal, was a normal thing for me. So I was always, on the go with tech companies, planning events, working with even celebrities and things like that in California. And it was really hectic life. So one day, I was actually, after having my second child and having the perfect marriage, the perfect life, I would call it, I actually became, for some reason, I lost my hearing. I was deaf. So I decided from that moment, I didn't know what happened to me, because there are no medical reasons that the doctors gave me to be deaf, to be in that moment. So I started looking, of course, I went through a lot of mental illness because of that, because I didn't know how to handle those emotions. And that was actually what catapulted me into neuroscience and sent me through, just researching what happened to me and why my brain also was acting like that. Because besides the hearing loss that was not going to return, because I saw it was not going to come back, I was really having panic attacks and mental illness pretty much every day, to the point that I could barely eat, I could barely function, I could barely
Wow.
breathe, because my breathing was awful. Everything was a mess. So in that moment, I know that some people say, "Oh wow, losing your hearing, I feel so sorry for you." But what they don't know is that that actually was the turning point of my life, where I decided that what I was doing actually was not the right thing. And I decided to go into the mind, looking
Hmm.
research. And I went into that, and I decided to turn my life over and just help people with mental illness. I went, get certified in neuroscience. I went to MIT. I also got, all these certifications that what I know now, I can help people. And because I did emerge from those problems, I have a book that is called Emerge, that is about that. So that turning point was actually that connected me with my, with
Hmm.
myself. So in another level. And
Wow. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. I love how you have what I like to call taken a messy situation, something that people would view as a mess, and turned it into a positive message for others. There are so many authors that I have spoken with, as well as professionals, that when you ask the story, you ask the question, why are you doing this? So many people have a story very similar. Either something happened to them personally, or something happened to someone that they dearly loved. And that's what was the catalyst for them to change industry and start a new path in life. So people never know how they can affect others in such a positive way. I'm so glad that you decided to pivot and share all of your knowledge with others. Thank you so much for that. Now, I usually ask the question and say, what is the point of your business? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? But you've pretty much answered that. You want to be able to help others out of what has affected you, but you want to turn that into a positive message. So let me ask it in a different way. Who do you feel that you can assist more? Is there a particular group or a particular niche audience that finds your products and services the most helpful?
yes, actually, I find every day, so many people in my business. And of course, I love to help women, empower women, to be the best person they can be. Moms and, women over 40, where they are facing different situations in life, like divorce, over illness, those are typical, women that I help. But for some reason, I've been also very connected to younger people
Mm-hmm.
and teens that I help a lot too, because our youth right now is being affected, social media and all these situations with their parents, when their parents are anxious or they're stressed, and they don't know that their kids are just a mirror from that.
Yeah.
So they're also being affected. So I noticed that. But the other side of also my business is that I get messages every day from women saying, "You are such an inspiration. I love to be, the way you are right now. I just want to be like you one day, because I also want to publish my book." I just got a message from somebody who just also, like me, pretty much lost her hearing, and she's had a very similar path like I had. And she said she also want to be a published author, and she was so excited to find somebody like me who went through
Mm-hmm.
the same situations. And I was like, wow, that was so amazing to find somebody who said, I just want to be like you one day. So
Mm-hmm.
that really fills my heart with so much, love and motivation, to keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I tell women all of
yeah,
the time that we should definitely share our stories, especially if we have overcome anything. Share that story, because there's someone who may be going through something very similar, who needs to know that if we could do it, they can do it as well. So I love that that woman reached out to you. Now, let me ask you another question. And that is, as we are women of a particular age, and we are in that stage of life where we're not only continuing to forge forward with the vision that we have for our future, we have gained life experience, knowledge. I like to call it head knowledge and impart knowledge along the way. And we're now trying to share that with the next generation. So, with that kind of mindset, what advice would you give the person that you are today? The person that you are today, what advice would you give the person that you were when you first started this out, which would have been perhaps that next generation that we're trying to assist? What piece of advice would you give, knowing all that you know now, to the person you were when you started?
Yeah, I think from my story, what you just heard right now, from all these life that I had before I switched gears, like you said, and all of that, I wish I knew more about, how self-love, just loving myself helps so much in
Mhm.
every area aspect of my life. Like I didn't know that I was not loving myself enough before, I was not honoring my body, I was not honoring my mind, I was not taking care of myself when I
Yeah.
had to. I was just in the rat wheel, in this loophole that the media, the social media, everybody's trying to put you in there in like a little box. And what I will say, everyone right now is just don't be, don't get yourself, too much into social media, what the media says, just do your own and be your own authentic self, and love yourself, because when you love yourself, everything in life changes. I mean, I seriously think it's true, because when I started loving myself more, when I lost my hearing, I had so many doubts. I had so many things that came to my mind that I was not worth enough now, because I have this capacity, I have this limitation. So I started loving myself and looking at myself with compassion, with kindness, instead of judging myself and saying, here, people with hearing loss are dumb people, are not good, they're not good for society. No, that's not true. I can keep going with my life and I can do better than I was doing before. And I think loving myself in that way, that really gave me that passion and that motivation,
Mhm.
and also helped me to set boundaries with people that I had to do it before in the past and I didn't do it. So it really helped me in so many areas. That's what I want to keep talking more about, that. Loving yourself is really changes your life for the better. So that's what I want to also talk about the book, of course. We're doing this year in March. It's called Emerge with Self-Love, because all women and people in general, they need to love themselves more, and we need to spread that message.
Absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. I have found that as women, we wear so many hats, and in trying to be the all for everyone, many times we forget to focus on ourselves. And when we talk about self care and we talk about self love, I like to remind, especially women, that it is not selfish to take a moment to care for yourself. And I use the example, especially for those of us who travel. If you've traveled personally or for business, that part doesn't matter. But the flight attendant will always give us that pre-flight announcement. And one of the things they say is, should there be an issue and the oxygen mask falls from above, what are you supposed to do? You put your mask on first before attending to another person. And I think that that gives us also great life advice. We have to make sure that we are taking the time to put on our mask, to recharge ourselves, to rejuvenate ourselves, to make sure that we have enough juice, if you will, to share with others. We cannot continue to work on a low battery of self. If we charge our phones properly, we should make sure that we're recharging ourselves properly. So I could not agree with you more. I think that book is going to be a really great help for any of the readers. Now, speaking of a great help, can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader? This person can be famous or maybe not so famous, but how have they helped you move forward in your life?
Yes, well, I will have to say two people definitely made a difference in my life. One, of course, is my mom because
Mhm.
she went through a lot of things on her own, trauma and abuse. And I always saw she was such a strong, resilient woman. And I think I learned so much from her. And I actually want to embody, the same resilience, the same strength, the same power that she has. And I think that's beautiful. Also because
Mhm.
she was very vulnerable. She was not afraid to be vulnerable in front of others, even, her daughters like me. So I always saw that side of her, which I think it was so amazing, in my childhood. Even knowing that she went through some abuse, of course, that was hard, but I think it's very important to see that, to be
Mhm.
vulnerable. But also, I have to say, professionally, that's another is a person that I always follow. It's called Joey Dispenza. He's a neuroscientist. And when I was starting to look into the mind, and all of these things, when I went through all this process that I had, I found some answers in what he said, where he actually uses science and neuroscience in a different way. He's more like a mystic, but he also used science and spirituality. And I think personally, in my career today, I think they should go hand in hand, together
Mhm. Mhm.
science because they kind of they connect in so many ways. So that's what I think now because I have a very spiritual side, of course, that I try to grow every day. Of course I am the woman of science sometimes, but I have to have a balance, with my spirit, with my love for myself, with all these things that are so important. So I think that those two people really made a difference on my life.
Mhm. And as a person of faith, I could not agree with you more. But flip side of that, as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, we want the numbers, like we want the facts, because we're used to running our businesses. But at the same time, we understand that God is so much more than what we can put put that into a box, right? And we
Yeah.
understand that. And I think because we understand that, we allow ourselves the grace to be able to just say, I can't do this all by myself. So I definitely need to have God involved in this moment, whatever your faith is. And I think that it is so important for us to make room for our faith, for our spirituality, and having that connection with God. I couldn't agree with you more there either. Now, as an organization gets larger, and many of the wonderful business women or business persons that I speak with, they are doing a lot. We may start off with one thing, but because we are such visionaries, we want to do another thing and another thing to make sure that we are walking in our purpose as we feel that we should. So, as an organization gets larger or starts to expand, or even as a person becomes more popular, many times there can be the tendency for the passion, that fire that we once had, to dampen because we're so involved in the day to day. How do you believe that you keep your passion, your fire for what you do, from weakening any, from starting to go out?
Yeah, no, that's a really hard thing to do because sometimes, like you said, it can, things can go down sometimes. But like I just told you, some messages from people that they encourage me to do, keep going with my message and spreading that. Really, for some, it's funny because I told you about this person who wrote me that she wants to be. I was inspiring her to be an author and all of that. And
Mhm.
that day, I was feeling pretty down. That day you just wake up like you just want to stay in bed. And I just woke up. I went to to my kitchen. I was doing my coffee when I opened my Instagram and I saw that message. It just really, my heart just started, you know, spinning
Yeah.
right there. So when you see things like that, that means, okay, that gives you motivation to keep going and it really gives you that boost that you need,
Mhm.
from,
Mhm.
people appreciate that. And it's hard to see because sometimes your family or friends, they might not tell you that every day, of course, because they don't do it.
Right.
I have so many people that are closer to me that they always keep encouraging me and saying, hey, what you're doing is amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. So having good friends, that sometimes remind you of your value, of course,
Mhm.
is very valuable. And I know that I'm doing this with my heart. So everything that comes out of love and doing
Right.
doing it with the heart, I can't get tired of that. I just have to keep going. It's like a drug. It really
Mhm.
feels me, it really feels me to keep going. So that's my
Mhm.
motivation.
I love that. And you mentioned a very important step, and that is anytime we are inspired by someone, anytime a person is inspired by another person, share that with that person.
Yeah,
Because I have to say, I too look at that as the confirmation that I am doing exactly what I am supposed to do. That handshake, or that, oh, that was so wonderful, or I learned something today, or you're an inspiration. Whatever you say to that person. um I know many times people ask the question, does that really matter? Like, should we say something? Or you guys seem to go, oh, thank you so much, but are you really appreciative? I can't speak for everyone, but much like you, I know it matters for me, because like you said, it is that confirmation that, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I wrote that and people received it the way in which I intended it. So you are onto something there. Be encouraged to encourage that person who just shared with you. I love it. Now, Paula, what are 3 things that you do in your daily life that have absolutely contributed to a better life for you, for your family, for those that are, I'll say, in within your support group? Do you have 2 or 3 things that you can think of that you feel really make a difference?
definitely. There are many things that I do, but I will summarize the three things that they're more important for me. It's actually self-talk, like the talking to myself every day. I didn't know the impact that my brain had in all my self-talk, the way that I talk to myself every day, just saying nice things to me and being compassionate and kind with myself, not judgy, not saying, oh, why did you do this? Not punishing myself for things that they can go wrong is so important, that I do that every day. I try to, treat myself with love and compassion. The second thing I will say is meditation, because that meditation for me also changed my life for the better. And I think personally, everybody should meditate in this world. It's not so
Mhm,
hard,
mhm,
and it will change. It will change the world so radically. Like the world will not, there will not be, any wars or anything that's going on right now in the world. And the
mhm,
third one will be connection. And I mean real connection. That means dropping your phone and staying, looking somebody in your eyes, and not being like taping everyone or taking pictures or anyone, because I think devices have taken over our lives so much that we lost that
mhm,
connection with people sometimes. So I always try to be present for my kids, for my friends when I'm going out with them, with everyone, and not being on my glued to my phone all day, because I think you need that, and connections make so much, it's a big part of myself, I need that every day, that connection part, because it's good for your
mhm,
brain, of course, all that. But it helps, it feeds my heart and my soul. So I need that every day, Those are the three things
mhm,
I will say are the most
mhm.
important. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Now, I want to wrap back around to something that you said, and that is that you have a new book that is available. And I want to give you just, a minute to kind of talk about that as well. So many women are stepping out in that author role and really sharing the knowledge that they have gained along the way. Can you tell us a little bit about the newest book that will be available?
Yes, like I mentioned, this book is called Emerge with Self-Love. And it was actually, I've been thinking about having another book for so long. It's been a few years since I launched my first one. But I decided to do this one about self-love because, like I said, it's the most important thing that people should grow in their lives right now. Mostly women, like you said, women have so many roles in their lives and they're forgetting to love themselves. Women in different stages of life, we're seeing that unfortunately 80% of women right now are, the ones that they have autoimmune disorders. 80% of women, that's crazy. Why? Because we are absorbers. We absorb all this stress, we absorb all this, trauma problems, and we don't speak about it, we don't say anything, and we think it's in our, we have to be strong, but sometimes we need to just love ourselves and not, just being vulnerable, set boundaries, and have all these tools that are available right now. And I know many women like you, Angela, and me can inspire so many people, to do this with our experience, our journey, our love for life and for ourselves can inspire so many people to do that. So I definitely, when I was trying, to do this book, I also I'm going to have 12 amazing women, authors that are going to be in this book. And this, also my mom is going to be a contributor in the introduction. I have to announce that. And it's a book that is all about love. I did it with
awesome.
love, and it's all about that. And of course, it's a collaboration that all these women, we're putting together for people to inspire. To grow.
Just be that, like you said, just to be that inspiration, because every woman I feel has a story that she can share that can be inspirational, but especially those that have experienced a something, be it personal or business, but they've experienced a something, and sharing those success stories like we're doing right now, which is why I feel this podcast is so important, is because we're sharing the journey of people's success stories. It's not about the money, it's about the journey. And many times I think people get the two confused. They focus too much on the financial reward. Don't get me wrong, having great financial reward is a blessing. But we also can take away so much from people's success stories because it's turn left and not right. Go forward, don't go backward. And just having those words of positive affirmation and confirmation can really and truly make a difference. So let me ask this last question of you, and that is, how do you feel that you are going to use your voice to empower others? Will you simply continue doing what you're doing, or do you have something different in the works?
Well, I always have something under the sleeve. But yes, I continue to speak out, about issues that people, many people don't want to, just look at. I am the kind of person that I feel I have a responsibility to speak about things people don't want to speak about. And I always been like that, I lie. I am a really bad liar. So unfortunately, but that's good. Actually, when I decided to do this book, I just wanted to be myself and being totally, authentic, and just put my story, my mess, just make my mess my message, in some way where people can learn about that and then grow. Of course, I have so many things that are coming because I'm evolving, I'm learning, I'm growing into a, every day, you grow into a more experienced, person with more knowledge, with more power. But, I have many things I want to do, but of course, my goal is to empower women right now and to speak about that, because I come from a family where all the women, they would never speak. Like my mom, my grandma would be people, they'll always, I remember growing up, my mom telling me, oh, don't say anything, just don't say anything about that, just don't speak your mind. And that's not true. I think I am here to break those generational patterns, that I have in my family. And life put me in this direction for a reason, and I plan
Yeah.
to keep going like that direction. I think it's good.
Well, I applaud you for being a positive disruptor. It's a difference, in at least in my mind, from the person who simply wants to wreak havoc or cause chaos. We don't want that. We want the
Yeah,
person who's going to be that positive disruptor that's going to shake things up just enough to make sure that even more people are positively affected, included, released, made free, whatever the word is that we need to use there, or phrases that we need to use there, but that there's more of that positive energy in that space as opposed to the negativity. So I want to say thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you believe that your life has called you to do, and making sure that you walk in that purpose and on purpose. I think that is absolutely awesome and amazing. Now, there is one thing that we like to remind people to do, and that is a part of our tagline, and that is continue to have bold ideas, continue to have brave pursuits, continue to be a boundless inspiration. And Paula, that is exactly what you are doing. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here on Passioneer-Magazine, the podcast.
no, thank you, Angela. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.